I was married to my first spouse. I used to be married to my first wife for about 9.5 years after I joined the neighborhood sheriff's office as a deputy. I used to be attending the academy. I was at home greater often than traditional, as instructions were most effective from 8 to 5 at some stage in the week. I completed the academy and back to shift paintings at the local prison. It became nighttime shift, 12-hour shifts. 2 months later, I got a peculiar feeling that something wasn't proper. My spouse kept spending time with the pastor's spouse, sewing and crafting. I was off duty and had to alternate my sleep schedule. I might go to bed with my spouse, but couldn't sleep. I went to the restroom and saw a text on her phone at midnight. It changed into the pastor. Wondering it ought to were an emergency, I picked it up and read it. It read, "Appropriate night time, my love." I used to be unsuitable and tried to locate other texts, however she had deleted them. If it was innocent, the older texts might were saved. I woke her up at 1 and asked what the... She basically stated it needed to be a typo, and why I was snooping. She grew to become the tables on me and got defensive, kicking me out of our bedroom for a month and a half. I notioned I had screwed up. I was so burdened I misplaced 35 pounds in a month, couldn't consume or sleep, actual basket case. I were given us counseling as endorsed with the aid of the pastor. She had me apologizing to him for even thinking that something become occurring between them. She would not speak to a counselor except for quoting Bible verses. She attempted to play the holier than thou. After a month and a half of this, I saw her diary out and unguarded. She was so guarded of it and her cell phone since it all hit the fan. I study how she and him were in love and needed to sneak around to be together, and that his wife knew. I lightly went to her and stated, "You have been proper for hiding your diary from me. I've to study it." Her jaw hit the ground. All of a sudden, she were given all apologetic. She stated, "I by no means meant it to go this far. I in no way meant to harm you. Call him now. I need to talk to him." She referred to as, and I demanded to satisfy him inside the morning. I did, at a local fast meals restaurant. I walked in with my cell phone in my pocket on report. I recorded our communique, which is legal wherein I live. He admitted to the inappropriate courting. He became this type of hypocrite. He regularly preached against infidelity and the way he wouldn't counsel a female by myself due to human beings thinking the incorrect aspect. I let him speak enough to provide me proof. I was livid. The toughest issue I ever needed to do. I attempted even tougher to hold my marriage collectively, but I am pretty certain the cheating endured. I moved out to maintain my job safe, so there wouldn't be any way she may want to lie and try and begin a domestic violence trouble, and I might lose my process. Human beings at church requested her, where I was for weeks. She lied and stated I used to be running. They contacted me, and I wouldn't lie to them. It took some time, but it all came out, and he left the church he founded 25 years ago and started out operating in fast meals in his mid-50s. It took years for me to sooner or later get over it. However, it has messed me up as some distance as trusting human beings, specifically preachers. Posting this now not to be malicious, simply sharing for others to study and desire it helps in some way for others going through the same tale. Variety. Her lifestyles crumbles, whilst mine has in no way been higher. I, 25 male, turned into relationship my ex-lady friend, a louse named her Jess, 24 lady for 4.5 years. We met at university as she was in my commercial enterprise management class. We got put together on a huge mission for the semester, and we simply sort of clicked. When we completed the challenge, I requested her out, and she, or he stated yes. Those first few years together had been absolute bliss. We had been all lovey-dovey with each different, and universal the whole lot simply felt proper among us. We hardly ever argued, and we never were given into fights. We communicated honestly and brazenly with each different. I definitely idea she changed into the only that I was going to spend the rest of my existence with. Hell, I was saving up to buy her a ring. But right here I'm over the last half year of our dating. She began to develop remote and turned into continuously making excuses on why we could not cling out together as a good deal. Each people of route had been out of university and we had begun running full-time jobs, so I concept this became ordinary. Notice, we in no way had been living together. However, then quickly sufficient, she became beginning to show down intimacy. For a few historical past, me and her have very excessive libidos. We usually could move at it at the least as soon as an afternoon. I usually wore safety, and she or he changed into it the tablet due to the fact neither of us became ready to have kids. One night time, we decided to spend the night time at her vicinity. I attempted to initiate intimacy, and of path she turned it down. This turned into actually starting to piss me off, and I voiced my frustrations to her, but she simply stated that she wasn't feeling comfortable together with her frame on the time and requested to present her some space while it got here to starting up intimacy. I agreed, and we both went to mattress, or as a minimum she did. I simply had this gut feeling in my belly that something turned into off, and I went to snoop on her phone as soon as I knew she changed into a sleep. Yeah, I recognize that is horrific, but I do not remorse it one bit, and found out that she turned into hooking up with her severe IL cheating ex. I discovered messages, images, and complete blown movies of them. The motion pictures killed me. In those videos, she became appearing and saying things that truly made me examine her as nothing greater than a waste of space and a hollow. At that very second, all I could experience was hatred closer to her. I regarded down at her as she became sound asleep, and all I should feel became visceral disgust. I then took screenshots of all of the messages and dispatched them to me, which include the other photos she dispatched him. No longer the motion pictures, although, as I couldn't endure to send the ones. I quietly took anything belongings I nevertheless had at her rental and took them out to my car and went back to my condominium. Inside the morning, she referred to as me and requested me in which I used to be, and that I simply gave her a quick plausible excuse, and he or she sold it. Now, right here's some background information. Allow me to introduce you to one and all my close adolescence buddies. Permits call her Julia, 21 woman. Julia and I had been clearly close throughout our formative years through excessive school, and her brother are high-quality buddies. They live a block away from my parents' home, wherein I grew up. Now about 12 months after me and Jess got collectively, I lower back to my native land for my cousin's wedding and started hanging out with my antique pals, together with Julia and her brother. At some point of that night time, she confessed that she had feelings for me. I became her down and instructed her that I already had a female friend. She became very information and apologized. After that, we didn't definitely speak as lots. I did not need to provide her any symptoms that I used to be interested by a relationship with her, considering that I was relationship Jess. She turned it a first rate with this and understood it and not using a problems at all. She doesn't use social media, so the most effective way we would talk is over a message. At some stage in that time, I took a lot of photographs of all and sundry, striking out with every other. Again, I went again to university about a week later and confirmed Jess where I was and who I used to be with, as she turned into inquisitive about seeing who I frolicked with at some point of my experience. At the same time as we had been scrolling through snapshots, a photograph of me and Julia popped up. She started to ask questions about her and who she was. I already defined to her that she become a early life pal of mine, that in the trip she confessed feelings for me. But I shot her down and that I confirmed her the textual content messages to lower back it up, and normal she appeared fine with that. Approximately 12 months later, during a bit argument we had, she confessed to me that she became very insecure, approximately her frame, that she grew very insecure after seeing snapshots of Julia, because Julia had a completely slim parent and appeared fantastic. I did my high quality to calm her fears. However, I suppose in the end, she never in reality were given over that. Now again to the tale. I messaged my parents again in my hometown and asked them if I should stay at their place for the imminent week, as I have some crucial things to discuss with them, and that they were concerned, however, agreed. I've been telling Jess that I was happening to see my dad and mom, as I have not seen them in some time. I want to go to them, and he or she failed to bat an eyelid at that. I went to work and met with my boss and explained to him the whole scenario. I requested for a little destroy, and he told me to take as plenty time as I need and are available back while I'm prepared. I went on my manor down there in the course of the weekend and advised my parents the entirety. They had been, without a doubt, disgusted along with her movements, and my mother told me that if I ever took her lower back, she might no longer be allowed at their house ever. I informed my mother now not to worry. I had sufficient self-dignity to now not ever take her back. I then messaged Julia and requested if she and I could speak. I defined the whole thing. They located out approximately Jess. I don't know what occurred, but I think at that very second the whole thing form of hit me, and that I commenced to cry profusely, no longer only because I misplaced a person I cherished, however the truth that I wasted a lot of time on her, and I'd never get that point lower back. Julia was there to console me at some point of my complete breakdown. After a little whilst I calmed down, she added out a few beverages, and we just drank, watched movies, and performed Mario Kart till approximately 2 a.m. At this point, we were both quite tipsy to mention the least, and that I couldn't in reality move lower back to my dad and mom vicinity. She offered me to stay the night, and I did. We went to her room, and one issue caused every other, and we were making out on her mattress. Just before we took off our garments, she informed me to take out my smartphone and to begin recording. As you may probably guess, we did the deed pretty some instances that night. The whole time we were doing it, Julia became yelling out derogatory things approximately just like, "This is a lot tighter than that filthy whore," stuff like that. After our closing move, we went and stopped recording and went to bed. I awakened day after today to the odor of her making breakfast, and we ate collectively. I requested her why she wanted me to file what we did ultimate night, and she stated that she wanted to help me get some payback. I in no way as soon as mentioned getting revenge on Jess, but I guess Julia knows me pretty nicely and knows that I want to get some revenge only for treating me this way. She told me to simply ship her the audio document from the recording and split along with her. She instructed me that she nonetheless has emotions for me and will watch for me to kind the whole lot out with Jess. I instructed her I couldn't promise her something, and he or she said that turned into high quality. She simply wanted me to realize. After that, we said our goodbyes, and that I went returned to my dad and mom home, and they were kind of involved, asking in which I was last night time. I informed them that Julia and I had been just catching up. My mother and father were relieved, but as my parents were getting geared up for work, my dad had a small smirk on his face. I went onto my laptop and downloaded the video from my phone and edited the video to just audio and a black screen. Once that changed and executed, I spent the rest of the weekend with my buddies partying and having fun. I additionally spent lots of time with Julia and perhaps having intercourse some instances as nicely, this time no recording. I informed my boss that I would be returning to work in approximately every week, and he stated that was flawlessly best. I then texted Jess that I knew she turned into hooking up together with her ex and dispatched all of the screenshots. My closing message to her ever become, "Deal with me like a sport, and I will show you how it's performed," and I connected the audio of me and Julia having intercourse and then blocked her. Over the following couple of days, I used to be getting unsolicited mail calls and spam messages from a bunch of our mutual pals and her own family. I dispatched them all the screenshots of the text messages that I had, and it changed into radio silent for the most part after that. Her mother and father known as me and apologized for his or her daughter's conduct, and that turned into that, in which I am now about 12 months later. I just had my 26th birthday with my family and female friend of close to 1 year, Julia, who is now 22. I latterly were given a promotion at my paintings, and Julia just moved in with me, and he or she goes to graduate in a touch over every week from now. She transferred over to the university I went to for her final 12 months. I have a consistent workout agenda. I'm now 5'11" and 165 pounds. I used to be usually pretty thin whilst I used to be growing up. I've in no way felt extra proud of myself, and I experienced truly cared for in ways that I have by no means felt earlier than. Now for my ex, a pal told me that reputedly, she went through a big disaster once I dumped her. She determined out she'd become pregnant, and her ex who knocked her up seemingly ghosted her. I could not be the dad because I in no way went raw on her. She had an abortion, and her lifestyles has been a multitude ever on account that. She has an alcohol dependency, and way to the video I dispatched her. She now has large frame insecurity issues which have ruined maximum of, if now not all, her relationships for the reason that. For her, I'm the only that were given away, and for me, she's the largest bullet I ever dodged. I nonetheless despise her due to the fact those 4.5 years we spent together are lost, and I'm able to in no way get them back. However, I am dwelling my best existence, and I couldn't be happier. My one piece of recommendation to everybody who has been cheated on is by no means to settle for a person who doesn't admire you. The world is your oyster. Go out and live your satisfactory life. Simply earlier than you cross, please take a second to join my channel. It best takes one click on of a button. Thank you a lot.